It's January the 6th, and this is Race to Power on WION The World is One. I'm Eric Njoka. US President Joe Biden urged Congress to tell the truth about the Capitol Hill riots that took place on January 6th, 2021, even as he prepares to transfer power to Donald Trump. But what's the fate of the bills to be presented in Congress? We talked to our correspondent in New York. And tech billionaire Elon Musk is ruffling feathers in Europe, and most politicians are not really happy with his statements, or antiques, I should say. Will Musk be able to maneuver the murkier platform of politics? We'll speak to a political commentator shortly. Welcome to the show. Well, Donald Trump is set to move one step closer to taking over the U.S. presidency in a short while from now. Members of the U.S. Congress will gather to ratify the 2024 presidential elections result. As Washington, D.C. grapples with a major snowstorm, the newly elected Congress lawmakers will undertake the election certification process, marking the penultimate requirement before the president's inauguration ceremony on January 20th. On Sunday, Joe Biden, who is into the final days of his presidency, said that the transfer of power will be a peaceful process. The U.S. president urged the Congress to tell the truth about the Capitol Hill riots that took place on January 6th, 2021.
Last time this occurred, this transfer of power, the losing party never even showed up. Never even showed up and everybody understandably says to me, "Why are you being nice, Joe? Why did you have him over to the office for 2 hours? Why are you cooperating?" Because the rules matter, the institutions matter, the safeguards matter.
As Biden prepares to pass the baton to Donald Trump, the spotlight is back on events that unfolded on this very day 4 years ago when Joe Biden won the elections in 2020. Donald Trump made scathing accusations and claims of the election being stolen from him. On January 6, 2021, thousands of Trump supporters gathered at the Capitol Hill, causing mayhem, breaking and entering the Congress chambers to prevent lawmakers from ratifying the election that Trump lost. The attacks began soon after Trump's speech that claimed election irregularities and demanded his then Vice President Mike Pence and Congress to reject Biden's poll victory. Many people were injured, including police officials. Prosecutors have accused close to 1,500 people of rioting 4 years ago, and over 170 are accused of using deadly or dangerous weapons. Since the trials began, more than 1,000 defendants have pleaded guilty. Close to 220 have already been convicted. Trump has repeatedly made statements pardoning the accused. With the Republican leader coming to power in just a few days, it remains to be seen how the election promise plays out. All right, so there is a lot that is happening in Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. So let's talk to our correspondent Susan Teherani, who's joining us from New York. Susan Teherani, there's a lot that is happening today. We are talking about remembering what happened 4 years ago. It was a tragic incident back then, but let's not focus on that. Let's focus on what Congress is supposed to do. What fate lies ahead for the bills that will be passed in Congress?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, and something that even the American people hope to focus on moving forward. You know, we were talking about January 6th, and yesterday a poll came out that only 5% of Americans believe that it was actually an insurrection, 4% of Democrats and 1% of Republicans. So moving forward, Congress is going to be very busy. Mike Johnson yesterday had an interview, the new speaker. He said that he's going to be focusing on Donald Trump's agenda. First and foremost, border security, followed by crime, law and order, followed by national security issues. Now, whether or not they can get all of these in one bill, that's the big question. But, you know, these are the things that they want to focus on first and foremost from the first day that Donald Trump takes office. And I think it's also noteworthy to say that Kamala Harris will be certifying Donald Trump today. You know, she just lost to him, but she is still the vice president. So that's sort of a little interesting part of history for America right now.
I actually wanted to say that will be interesting. Will it be, Susan? All right, Susan, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much. Susan Tehrani is our correspondent in New York. As Trump prepares to return to the White House, his closest ally and key member of cabinet, Elon Musk, is making headlines for allegedly interfering in political matters and elections across Europe. In the past few days, the UK and Germany have been on the American billionaire's targets. Elon Musk, while living at Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida, has been stirring a political storm in UK and Germany. The owner of social media platform X, formerly Twitter, has made multiple comments openly backing certain far-right individuals in both countries. With respect to UK, Musk has repeatedly slammed Starmer, accusing him of inaction against grooming and even rape gangs during his time as a public prosecutor. But the British Prime Minister has slammed the American tycoon for spreading lies.
Those that are spreading lies and misinformation as far and as wide as possible, they're not interested in victims. They're interested in themselves.
Musk had openly backed Reform UK leader Nigel Farage until an online spat broke out between the two. The relationship between Musk and Farage, previously thought to be harmonious, has seen a rapid decline as the former withdrew his support to the British leader. Musk said that Reform UK needed a new leader and that Farage did not have what it takes. This comes just weeks after reports surfaced that billionaire was ready to donate Farage's party. Musk explicitly called for Nigel Farage to be replaced as leader of Reform UK in a post on X without providing a reasoning behind the decision. While Farage has suggested that this was due to a disagreement over Musk's support for far-right activist Tommy Robinson. Commenting on Musk's sudden withdrawal of support, Farage said that he was surprised by billionaire's remarks. He also went on to say that Tommy Robinson was not a right person to be included in Reform UK. Earlier, in an interview aired on BBC, Farage had hailed Musk as a hero of free speech and defended tech mogul's post on X, which claimed that Prime Minister Keir Starmer was complicit in the rape of Britain, as he failed to prosecute rape gangs as head of the UK Crown Prosecution Service back in 2008. And in Germany, Musk has stirred controversy over his open support for the far-right AfD party. The country goes to elections on February 23rd after the ruling three-way coalition collapsed on November last year. Germany's Chancellor has slammed Musk for his erratic comments.
The crucial point is that Mr. Musk has supported some right-wing extremist parties and, as you can see, is not only acting this way in this country, and that is something we not only disagree with, I reject it.
Leaders from other European nations have also expressed concerns over the alleged interference by Elon Musk. Norway's Prime Minister says he is worried about Musk's comments on Europe's internal affairs, while Macron has also slammed his intervention in elections.
Que nous défendons le droit international et l'Arménie.
10 years ago, who could have imagined it if we had been told that the owner of one of the largest social media networks in the world would support a new international reactionary movement and intervene directly in elections, including in Germany? Who would have imagined it? This is the world in which we live and in which we have to be diplomatic.
So what is Elon Musk doing? Is it really a right thing? Is it a positive thing? Is it a negative thing? Let's talk to Adam Schwartz. He's a writer and political commentator. He's now joining us live from London. Mr. Schwartz, thank you very much for making time for us. I'll just be very quick and very direct with you on Elon Musk. He's known to be a tech billionaire. He's known to be an entrepreneur, but now he's involving himself in the murkier world or platform of politics. Does he need to get away or abandon X?
Well, I think, let's be absolutely clear. Elon Musk is systematically attempting to undermine and destabilize democratically elected Western governments that he doesn't like, and in doing so, seeking to empower extremist far-right groups and cause chaos and essentially try to project them into power. We've seen that in America with Trump. We've seen that in the UK with his support for Tommy Robinson. We've seen it in Germany with his support for Alternative for Deutschland. And he's sort of primarily doing so through his exploitation of his ownership of the X platform under this false pretense of this idea that he's just using and protecting free speech, where he's not only sort of allowing misinformation and disinformation to go unchecked, he's not only allowing the system to be optimized in favor of far-right extremist content, he himself is actively promoting far-right extremist content and directly attacking European governments. And let's be clear, these are not just opinions of a private individual. These have very real-world consequences. We saw it in the UK last summer, where he allowed and actually himself promoted disinformation about a horrific murder to actually, try to get people in the UK to misunderstand the reality of what was really happening. And that led to far-right violence really across the UK at the time. So, this is not just someone expressing opinions. They're doing so in the knowledge that actually it has real consequences. And I would say very much so, I agree with the leaders of European nations who've spoken out over the last day or so that Elon Musk is consciously intruding upon European democracies and trying to threaten their stability. And of course, it should be considered as completely unacceptable because ultimately democracies should not be the playthings of sort of tech billionaires and oligarchs, whether they're foreign or domestic, to be honest. So I think, the time for just words is really passing, and actually European nations that are coming under attack from Elon Musk really should start to take some action against him, because ultimately the consequences will be very severe for European democracies.
What actions do you perceive or do you say these European countries should take against Elon Musk? Because you're talking about consequences, and we're talking about Elon Musk here. In a few weeks from now, he'll be in the administrative position or administrative department in the United States. Quite a powerful department, I should say. So what should happen to Elon Musk? How should he be gagged? That's the word I'm looking for.
Well, I think that is the crucial detail. He's not just the richest man in the world. He is actually an incoming member of the Trump administration, which causes major complications because what we're sort of seeing with the Trump administration, just for context, is this sort of merging of private oligarch interests with actually government interests. And of course, that really makes it very difficult for European nations to actually take action against Musk. And I would say so far, they've been very hesitant to even speak out against him. Really, partly because they don't want to give him further oxygen, but also partly because they're actually afraid of the consequences that Trump might take in response, particularly in relation to tariffs, which we know Trump has already threatened. But really, European nations have to protect democracy. Really, it's absolutely essential that we have integrity in our elections and our discourse. But really, European democracies and other democracies, have everything they need in terms of the legislation and regulations to actually take action against Elon Musk, and particularly with X. The EU has the Digital Services Act, where they can take action against Musk for disinformation. We have the Online Safety Act in the UK, which the UK could enforce against Musk. So really, it just requires the political will. And I would say that actually European nations should look to the example of Brazil, who took action last summer, the Brazilian Supreme Court, who actually closed down X temporarily for disinformation and for failing to provide fines, and actually very powerfully made sure that no one could access it. And in the end, what happened? Elon Musk actually gave in, he paid for all the fines, and he actually complied with what the Brazilian Supreme Court was telling him to do so. And so ultimately, people like Elon Musk, they only respect power, they only respect actions. Words will not do anything. And this is a man that needs to be curtailed, and it's absolutely essential, because the kind of forces that Elon Musk is empowering across the world is so dangerous for the stability and the well-being of democracies that really, European governments have responsibility to act against this kind of deliberate malign influence.
All right, Adam Schwartz, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much for your time and for talking to us today.
Good to be with you.
Let's move on now. Canada is at the cusp of major political change, with reports saying that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is likely to announce his resignation. Trudeau will be making a public address in an hour from now. The move follows a growing leadership crisis within his Liberal Party and plummeting popularity nationwide. Trudeau is facing intense pressure amid record inflation, a housing crisis, rising food prices and voter fatigue. Recent polls show the Liberal Party at a record low of 16% support, its worst pre-election performance in over a century. In October, 24 backbench Liberal members of Parliament signed a letter urging him to step down, fearing a massive electoral loss in next year's federal election. The situation deteriorated further in December with a shock resignation of Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland. Her exit was a direct rebuke of Trudeau's ability to handle major challenges, including the growing economic pressure from Donald Trump's America First policies. Trudeau's attempts to manage relations with the US president-elect have also come under scrutiny. After meeting with Trump to promote border security and trade, Trump publicly mocked him, referring to him as the governor of Canada. Trump also has more than once referred to the neighboring country as the 51st state of the US. The resignation of Freeland and the withdrawal of support from the New Democratic Party have also left Trudeau isolated and his government on shaky ground. Opposition is calling for an immediate election, while many expect one by spring. Trudeau, the eldest son of former Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, once symbolized stable, progressive leadership. Now his resignation could end nearly a decade in power as he struggles to navigate the biggest crisis of his political career. As Syria looks to rebuild and make itself part of the Committee of Nations, cultural norms and the status of women is a challenge that stands out. Gender issues shot into focus during the visit of German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock to Syria last week. It stood out on Baerbock's arrival at the Syrian presidential palace. Conspicuously enough, Syrian leader al-Sharaa extended a hand to French Foreign Minister Barrot, but not to Annalena Baerbock. The piece of news was even labeled Handshake Gate. Going by Islamic custom, al-Sharaa holds his hand to his heart in greeting. Baerbock later said the refusal to shake hands was predictable, going by the Islamic checks on a man openly coming into any contact with a woman. Interestingly, she has made protection of women's rights a central condition for normalizing EU-Syria relations. It even extended to restricted media coverage for Baerbock. In the 4 images released of Barrot's and Baerbock's meetings with al-Sharaa, Baerbock's face was obscured or blurred. So are the faces of our 2 female interpreters. The act of censorship reflects the deeply conservative stance of Hayat Tahrir al-Shams that controls Syria. The incident has kicked up an online debate on global political greetings protocols and also the challenges in engaging with Syria's new leadership. Al-Sharaa's HTS views handshakes with women as inappropriate and immodest. The group has imposed strict Islamic rules in the territories it governs, and they mirror practices in ultra-conservative regimes like Afghanistan and Iran. Is that an indicator of things to come? Well, we'll have to wait and see. Ahead of assembly elections in India's capital, a BJP leader's comments against interim Chief Minister Atishi has sparked controversy and outrage. Ramesh, a senior BJP leader contesting Delhi's elections from the Kalkaji constituency, made personal remarks about Atishi. During an election rally, the former member of parliament raised questions on the character of Aam Aadmi Party leaders, and during his remarks, insulted Atishi by saying she has changed fathers. Following Biduri's comments, the Delhi Chief Minister broke down while addressing the remarks made about her 80-year-old father at a press conference.
वो इतने बीमार रहते हैं कि बिना सहारे के चल नहीं पाते हैं। आप चुनाव के लिए इतनी घटिया हरकत करेंगे? कैसे बुजुर्ग व्यक्ति को गालियां देने पे उतर आएंगे? इस देश की राजनीति इतने घटिया स्तर पर गिर सकती है, मैं कभी सोच नहीं सकती थी.
Well, this is not the first time that Ramesh has triggered backlash over his comments on political rivals. An undated video of the senior BJP leader also went viral, where he can be heard making remarks about Congress leader Priyanka Gandhi, saying that the party will make roads like Priyanka Gandhi's cheeks. Following a trade of personal remarks against women leaders across party lines, members of the Youth Congress were seen chanting slogans outside Ramesh's residence in Delhi and wrote a slogan calling Ramesh anti-women. Last year, the BJP leader stirred controversy during a special session of parliament in September, where he made several remarks against BSP leader Danish Ali, calling him names and making objectionable comments against the lawmaker. The incident landed Ramesh in trouble. He apologized to the Privileges Committee in December, almost 3 months after the incident triggered an uproar across parties. Let's now take a look at what else is making headlines in the world of politics. Austria's president has tasked far-right Freedom Party leader Herbert Klick to form a new government. It will be the first time since World War II that far-right party will lead the government talks in Austria. President Alexander Van der Bellen said it was not an easy decision to call on the Freedom Party leader. This comes after months-long talks to forge a government without far-right Freedom Party collapsing. Former French President Nicolas Sarkozy appeared before court over alleged Gaddafi campaign funding. The trial is the result of a decade-long investigations into accusations that Sarkozy accepted illegal campaign financing, reportedly amounting to some 50 million euros from the late Libyan dictator Muammar Gaddafi to help his election campaign. If found guilty, Sarkozy risks up to 10 years in prison. The presidential poll campaign season kicks off in Ecuador that will go to elections on February 6th. 16 candidates are in the fray for the presidency, with Daniel Noboa, left leader Luisa Gonzalez and former President Rafael Correa leading the race. In early opinion polls, Noboa leads at 33% with Gonzalez and Rafael Correa both at 29%. And that's the latest on this edition of Race to Power. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Eric Njoka. Stay with us. This is WION World is One.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that